People share strict parents' most ridiculous rule.
Story 1.
Not my parents, but I had a friend who got it pretty bad. If you want to play for 1 hour, you have to also practice piano for 1 hour. These and other such rules were posted on his bedroom door.
Story 2.
I wasn't allowed to say I died on Mario. I lost one of my chances to succeed. Son, your grandpa lost one of his chances to succeed.
Story 3.
My parents were pretty slack on everything except one thing. No video game consoles ever. No online games on the computer because that's how you get a virus and it makes the computer run slow. So I was playing my MMORPG when they were sleeping, and a hidden file, and a file, and another file, and another file, and I was changing the appearance of every file icon. And this is how you reverse your child's sleep schedule.
Story 4.
We could not listen to music with guitars in it. I will never forget the day my brother was listening to Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and my father took the radio and threw it through the window. Spent my childhood listening to Richard Marx and Michael Bolton. Thanks, Dad.
Story 5.
I wasn't allowed to cross any streets until middle school. Thus, my best friends were the ones who lived on the same block as me.
Story 6.
My mom was very strict about the ratings of movies and video games. One year for Christmas, a relative gave me a copy of Star Wars, Shadow of the Empire for the Nintendo 64. It was a T14 rated game, and I wouldn't be turning 13 for another 4 weeks. My mom had my dad drive me to Toys R Us to return the game. We walked into the store and over to the games, and he had me pick out an E for Everyone rated game. We proceeded to check out, and he went to the car and handed me not only the new game, but the game we were supposed to have returned to buy it as well, and told me not to let her catch me playing it.
Story 7.
I was not allowed to talk to boys. One Christmas Eve day, I was going last-minute shopping in the downtown of our little town. I ran into 2 male friends from my German class, and we talked for several minutes and wished each other a Merry Christmas. Oh, I was 15 at the time. My older sister drove by and saw me, told my parents I was hanging out with boys. When I walked in the house, both my parents were waiting, and the yelling began. Some Christmas Eve.
Story 8.
I had a friend who wasn't allowed to say the word stupid and tried to report me to the teacher when I said it. Teacher yelled at me and then told me it was okay in private and not to say it around that one kid. Nice guy, though, just had a helicopter mom. My kids are allowed to say stupid, but we always taught them that it was never okay to use it referring to a person. My oldest is 10, and when my youngest daughter heard her call something stupid, she ran to tell on her older sister. My wife and I cracked up laughing when the little one couldn't understand why she hadn't gotten her sister in trouble.
Story 9.
My stepmom decided that I was using too much shampoo. She would get a little medicine cup before my shower and pour the designated amount into it. It wasn't ever enough because I had hair down to my butt. I also wasn't allowed to use conditioner. Screw her. I also wasn't allowed to use conditioner. I got a paper out when I was 12 years old. The very first thing I bought with my earnings was a giant bottle of conditioner.
Story 10.
When I was in the 5th grade, I wrote some stuff in my diary about masturbating, and like a month later, my mom went through all my stuff. She would randomly go through my room, tear it apart. I'd always get in trouble for something, and then I'd have to clean up the mess and be grounded for whatever amount she felt like that day. So, anyway, she found that diary entry. She picks me up from school and won't talk to me. I get home. My door was removed from my door. That diary entry was taped up on the wall, and I was threatened with a belt if I didn't answer all her invasive questions. Fucked up.
Story 11.
I am not allowed to do the following. Use the washing machine, wash the dishes, pull the weeds, vacuum outside of my room. I must ask to use the vacuum. I can't cook a meal. I can't have the remote. I get instructed on how to use the microwave that I've been using for years, and if I ask where we are going, I get told out. And I have to dress in jeans, a shirt, and running shoes, no matter how hot it is because he doesn't like shorts, and no jacket, no matter how cold.
Story 12.
Currently on holiday in Japan. Have to message every hour to update them on what I am doing. Create a script that sends the same 5 messages in a random order every hour.
Story 13.
I was not allowed to watch Pokemon because it taught evolution. My brother couldn't watch it because Pokemon equals pocket monsters, which is a sneaky word for demons.
Story 14.
My mom hits me with kitchen utensils and yells that I am not allowed to put my hands up to defend myself from her strikes.
Story 15.
We couldn't go sledding during the winter, or any other season, obviously, because my mom was a neat freak and didn't want snow slogged into the garage. So, no snow playing of any kind, really. Never built a snowman. Did go sledding when I was an adult. It was pretty great. All of our clothes in our closet had to be arranged by color, descending in order by shade. So, for example, midnight blue at one end of the blue section and Tar Heel blue at the other. There was a system in place for colors, too, so if the yellows were by the purples, for example, there would be hell to pay. No shoes on in the house under any circumstances. Was super uncomfortable with my brother's friend, who had prosthetic legs and always had shoes on. Came over and didn't take his shoes off. Mom got really mad and confronted him. No Legos or puzzles allowed, as they make messes and look like disorder. I fucking love puzzles as an adult. One of my favorite hobbies.
Story 16.
30 minutes of internet time a day, and 99% of the time, that was supervised. As in Mom looking over my shoulder and commenting on conversations. We had a web TV, rest in peace, and when they weren't home, they would literally lock the keyboard in a toolbox. My sis and I could never have friends stay over because the house is a mess. No amount of cleaning satisfied Mom, because the real reason was she wanted to be able to fight with my dad at will.
Story 17.
I was from a large family and discipline was very strict. If myself or one of my siblings broke one of the major rules, my parents would hold a truth session. All the children would be brought to my dad's study, where the guilty party would be given an opportunity to confess. If nobody came forward, we would be hit in turn in order of ascending age. The eldest four were hit with a sewer rod, while, in deference to their age, the youngest ones would get a whack of a bamboo stick. A sewer rod is basically a 4-foot-long flexible rubber rod, around an inch thick with a metal cap. It would leave the most remarkable welts. Horrendous things, really. Anyway, this would continue until somebody admitted their guilt. At that point, they would receive the blows that everyone else had received to that point. So, that was awful. I fully acknowledge that. I am under no illusions. However, that wasn't the actual unreasonableness. No, the unreasonable part was that the person who caused the truth session didn't always receive the accrued punishment owed for having their siblings beaten. Sometimes they could just be let go, making their siblings hate them for causing pain to them. There'd be no explanation. The study door would be open, and we'd always be told to leave. That meant that you could be rewarded for holding out and avoiding the punishment you'd definitely get if you admitted it at the beginning. My parents now tell fun stories about how when I was a child and I'd done something wrong, I'd always begin with, "Let me tell you my story." Haha, they chortle at my childish phrasing while I recall the terror that such an approach was meant to stave off.
Story 18.
My mom's curfew was 7 p.m. and her brother's was 12 a.m. Her brother was about 2 years younger than her, and my granddaddy's logic was that girls get themselves into more trouble than boys. My poor mother only ever attended church functions for fun until she graduated from high school.
We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch our YouTube video. If you find our content helpful and enjoyable, please click the subscribe button to stay updated on any new videos we share in the future. Thank you once again, and we hope to see you in our next upcoming videos.